Hello and welcome to episode nine of the Diamonds and Duds podcast. Today, my name's Ivan.
And I'm Charles.
And my name's always Ivan. Today we're going to be talking about Spaceman. We decided to keep the Adam Sandler thing going. Yeah.
Will second time be a charm?
Going in, I was thinking it probably couldn't be worse than Pixels.
Yeah. I'm starting to think that we might be on opposite sides of this fence, and I'm here for it.
Yeah, this was a movie that I'm not 100% sure. I probably went in with too big of expectations, is what I think I went in with. And
So, all right, so this came out in 2024. Adam Sandler does some of his finest work as a lonely astronaut who bonds with a mysterious stowaway.
This is something that, from a critic standpoint, it got a 50% by the critics, which I thought was rather low. Got a 66% by the audience, which that's kind of what you typically see with a lot of these kind of movies. Not these, but with a lot of movies, is typically the fans will be a bit higher. It's always a bit weird when the critics are high and then the fans fucking hate it.
Yeah. So did you find anything interesting in the casting or writing or whatnot?
I did not. The director of it is a music video guy.
Oh, okay.
And yeah.
So I found it. This is based off a book.
Okay.
It's based off of a book called Spaceman of Bohemia by Jaroslav Kalfar. It's a Czechoslovakian book. Hence that. Yeah. Did you recognize the voice of the spider?
I know who it is because I saw a name in the initial credits that I kept waiting to appear and they never appeared.
Yeah, Paul Dano.
That's the guy who in that Batman movie played Riddler. The Joker, played that Riddler. I mean,
yeah, and he's the guy. There's also somebody else. We'll get to in the movie. There's also somebody else who's you weren't a big fan of the show, but you'll know that there's one other person that's from something famous in terms of a television show.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So, and I will say, first off, right away, on the Rotten Tomatoes, I actually think that's dead on, because to me, this is very much the kind of movie where I think it's going to be for some people, it's not going to be for some. I looked at the Rotten Tomatoes after I watched the movie, and that felt exactly right. Just because of the fact that there's going to be a lot of people that this movie just doesn't hit for, and I was actually surprised it was as high as it was. But even though I'm very much on the 50% side, I can understand why it would not hit for a lot. I actually expected it to be more like 35%, to be honest.
Yeah, it was one of those things where I heard great things about it, and I think we'll go into like dissecting it how we normally do.
Yeah.
But I think my biggest thing was I enjoyed the movie, a lot of what the movie was. I think Sandler does some of his finest work in it. I think the director missed the boat a couple, and maybe it's just the book's not this way. I think they missed a couple points where Sandler could have added a one-liner or two to add a little levity to it. It seemed super heavy the entire time, which is sometimes tough.
It can be, yeah.
Yep. And that was the thing I think could have helped maybe a hair would be, and it could be that they were worried that would change the tone of the movie too radically, because you don't then want it to suddenly turn into a one-liner fest, because that's not what this movie's supposed to be.
Yeah. So we open up, and this is we don't get a kind of confirmation as far as when this is taking place. We know in this version of the world, technology has it's not crazy advanced, but it's advanced farther than it has now, insofar that spaceships can go farther. 4 years ago, this mysterious cloud appeared on the outskirts of Jupiter, and now Sandler is leading basically a ship, and it's him all alone. Been going for 6 months, I believe, to reach the cloud, basically get the first pictures. And this is not, and I like the fact once I found out that there was a book, I was like, oh, okay, I love the fact that. And it's Czechoslovakian space company, where the South Koreans are at some amount of time behind.
Yep. Yeah. No. Yeah. Because that was one of the things I wrote down was that they're about 200. It was about 200 days or so into the journey that he's complete, and they make a point, and you obviously know this as you're going through, but he's completely alone on there. It sounds like, though, that they have people that are talking to him daily and trying to make sure his mental health is there, because I can't even imagine being alone.
Yeah, and that brings me to the aforementioned person, other cast member, the person that... So there's mainly one person that he's kind of person, Peter.
Yeah.
Peter was in the show, was a cast member of the show The Big Bang Theory. Rajesh Kutapal.
Okay. Yeah.
So he was a. As soon as I saw him, like, wait, is that Raj? And I paused. I looked at, yeah. So that's Raj.
Okay.
From Big Bang Theory.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I see that now. Didn't dawn on me.
Yeah, I was like, because he uses definitely a different tone of voice. Mm-hmm. Definitely nothing like the character of Raj.
No. And looking at it's like. I haven't seen a lot of Big Bang Theory, and it's one. Excuse me. It's one of those things. I don't necessarily have a thing against it, other than it was things that it was on so much and so popular that I think I'll probably dive into it at some point in 3 or 4 years once it's all toned down. Yeah. That's what I started doing with, what do you call it? What's the one that Ed O'Neill's in?
Modern Family.
I started watching Modern Family. I forget what streaming thing Modern Family's on, or maybe it's on all of them.
I know it's at least on Hulu.
I know it's on more than Hulu, because I don't have Hulu.
Gotcha.
But it's one of those things I started plowing through, though. But I'll probably do that at some point with Big Bang Theory.
I like Big Bang Theory. I've never watched it all the way through, and I won't. I like it. It does contain my personal... both character and performance by an actor worst in television history. To me, it's the worst character in television history, and it's equally as bad a performance by an actor a person that I don't think is worthy of being an actor. And he's one of the cast members, not Raj, the character of Howard. He's he's just,
okay.
He's not the two main, basically.
Okay,
there's the two main people. There's Raj and Howard. Yeah, we don't need to get him, but I always
and to be honest,
it's hard for me to watch Big Bang Theory because of him.
And I know we're kind of getting off on a tangent here, but I started randomly watching, what's the spinoff?
Young Sheldon.
I started watching a bit of Young Sheldon. It was just on again, it was on some show, Paramount Plus or something I was watching, and I really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
And it was one of those things where I'm like, okay. And so I have no problem with it, other than I think that for people who don't know us a ton, we're both video game nerds, and the thing I had an issue with was the nerd stuff they put in there. It was like, hey, look, video game people are funny, and that was the stuff that kind of rubbed me the wrong way.
Yeah. So that's one thing I don't. I mean, I know the answer is both the book in the book he was going. It was just him, and so in the movie they had to, and just the movie doesn't work if there's other crew members. I did wonder, maybe they could have put in some reason why he had to be alone on this crew.
Yeah.
I mean, that would have been something they could have thrown in because. Yeah, because I get okay, the book has, and also for the story, it kind of has to be this. But I would have appreciated some kind of explanation.
Yeah, it doesn't. And for me personally, with stuff like this in movies, I don't necessarily need a 20-minute scene. Yeah. I just need one line of hey, we couldn't, our technology isn't such that we can't recycle air enough for two people. Yeah. Something as simple as a one line of dialogue for me would have been.
Yeah.
Because as we're going to see later on, that wasn't the case for the other.
Yeah. Yeah, so and basically what we see right away is that he is Adam Sandler, and Adam Sandler to me this is I've seen Uncut Gems, and prior to this, Uncut Gems was my favorite dramatic Sandler performance. I think Adam Sandler surpasses this, and we'll talk about why I think that in the movie. Just because this particular assignment was just so hard.
Oh,
I don't think Robin Williams, and he's one of the best acting actors ever. Not the best, but one. I don't think like Robin Williams could have done this. It's the amount of restraint needed for this role because and one of the things I don't think it would have necessarily worked to have additional one-liners. Because he's supposed to be just utterly broken. Like he's so utterly alone and lonely, and also as we'll dive into, part of it is being, and part of it is just his own, just the way he's acted his entire life, his entire marriage. It just feels like at the beginning of this he does not have a whole lot left, and you kind of see it on set.
Yeah, and for me, the big hole in my movie watching is that I haven't seen Uncut Gems. I've heard nothing but amazing things. For the life of me, I can't think of the name of the movie, but there's a basketball movie he did.
Hustle, yes.
Hustle, his portrayal in Hustle is amazing. Yeah. But also, one of the things, I didn't necessarily think this was like a 5-star movie or anything like that. But the couple things I will give Sandler extreme credit for is that the restraint it takes to not, especially when, I don't know personally this director, but this director hadn't done a ton of movies, and so it would have been easy for an actor like Adam Sandler to just bulldoze and get what you want, kind of thing. The amount of restraint it takes to stay within, but also the confidence you have to have in yourself as an actor to go in to do something like that. Not every actor would have even, if Martin Scorsese was directing this, there's not a lot of actors that would have agreed to do this, because it takes such restraint, and it's such a solo thing. Yeah,
and so we get introduced. We have his wife. We're gonna get a lot of scenes throughout the movie that take place on Earth with Lenka. She's very, very pregnant. 6, 7, 8 months deep into pregnancy.
Super pregnant.
Yep. And she has sent a message to him that she's leaving him. That Czechoslovakia and NASA has intercepted, and he has not seen. But yet he still hasn't been able to get a hold of her because she's not answering his calls, because they have it set up to where like he can contact her on.
Because basically, if you haven't seen the movie, they have some sort of like, and this is something they do have a really quick one-liner. It's like a faster than light, like what do you call it, video call. Kind of thing, and you see, I forget if it's now or later, you see it's that she has one set up in her house. Yeah. So because I think they know going in that he's going to be so utterly alone during this that he needs to be able to contact people at will.
Yes. And so Czechoslovakia and NASA, they intercept it because they're worried about his state. He's saying, "Oh, he's fine," but you can tell, like, they had a Q&A thing. This girl asked, "Are you the loneliest man on earth?" He plays it off well, but you can just, kind of just see in his eyes, like, they're worried about what it's going to do. And so the head of Czechoslovakia NASA, she goes to try to talk to, "Hey, can you at least wait until after?
Wait until he gets back, kind of thing.
Wait until he gets back, kind of thing." And so you're going to get scenes throughout the movie interspersed, with her. Not a ton, but kind of as she goes on that, she goes to live in a place where there's a bunch of pregnant women. Yeah. And then that's when we get the introduction of our other main character in this movie.
Yes, and initially you're not sure if this is this. I'm still not 100% sure. I'm like 75% sure that this character is real and not just in his head. But like it starts out with like he's having a nightmare and he's dreaming that a spider is like in his
inside
inside him,
which is cool.
It's a really cool special effect, and it's a really cool thing.
Yeah, and it's a central question. It's a question throughout the story, intentionally left unanswered, of whether or not the spider is real. I was towards the end. I'll mention. I know the author has an opinion, and so I kind of say the author does have a belief on whether or not he feels that the spider was real. And so, but it's really feels like, and so an interesting thing that I found that was kind of cool, but also kind of creepy, is that this spider, the mouth though, is very human. Like it's a very, it's a very human mouth. You can see kind of the teeth and stuff like that. It's kind of funny.
No, yeah, and it's one of those things where then, as he then goes, you're starting to have flashbacks, which I like the way talking this through. I like the way the director does, and it's probably partly because it was this way in the book. But I like that he starts having flashbacks to when because he's, as Charles was mentioning, he's worried about his wife and that he can't get a hold of her, and he's depressed, and so he starts having these flashbacks, and initially it's portrayed as, hey, it's trying to give the viewer more fuel for what built their relationship and such. But you start to realize that he's seen this too.
Yeah, and exactly. And did you notice through most of the flashbacks there was kind of a weird visual thing going on?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure we're seeing the spider. We're seeing it through the spider's eyes. The spider's watching these flashbacks. So what the spider? He's an explorer from the universe, kind of like Sandler. He's kind of like said. He's from it's from the beginning. These crumpets. I don't think it was crumpets, but it was something like that. Had taken killed his kind or whatever. And that he was interested in humans and had to meet Sandler, and that the spider very much wants to help. Says he wants to help Sandler. Yeah. And this is Paul Dano, the guy from Batman, the Riddler. He's been in other stuff.
And what I found, and maybe I was misinterpreting it initially, but it almost seems like initially that the spider doesn't realize that depression's bad.
Yeah, I think
it almost seems like initially he seems like, I'm here to help you be depressed. It almost is what it sounds like you say.
Yeah, I think maybe he was trying to say that he was going to try to help get through this. But I know what you mean. I'm like, so I had a whole lot of questions at this point. Like so obviously is a spider real? But also, is it connected to the cloud? Like, is it a manifestation because
at this point, Sandler is obviously you're always going to be getting closer to the cloud, but he's getting very close to the cloud now as this starts to pop out.
Yeah, and initially, Sandler's freaked out, and also Sandler's freaked out at this. He has the place decontaminated, but he starts to kind of accept this spider. The spider. I think I have one of just choose to take the form, because they said that he had observed Earthlings for years, and so did he just choose to take the form of a spider, or does it resemble of what he looked like?
Yeah.
And like I said, I really liked the flashbacks because it was really kind of through the spider's eyes. And so we kind of showing, most of them are showing his relationship with his wife, especially early on in their courtship and stuff like that.
Yeah, and what's interesting is they start just as normal kind of flashbacks, but the more they show them, you also start to have Sandler narrating them. But they don't do it initially, and then they kind of slowly bring it up, and almost like eventually it's like he's explaining it to the spider.
Yeah. And
also, there's certain points where as Sandler's getting super depressed, he's like, can you stop showing this to me?
Yes. And the spider, he won't, because he says, as he says, he's determined you need to get to it.
You need to face this.
Yeah, you need to face it. Because at first, Sandler's in denial about his wife. He's like, thinks it's fine. He's trying to ignore it. There's one part that I thought was absolutely hilarious. And so, because, Sandler kind of shows, the spider food. And apparently the spider likes, I don't know, if it's Nutella or whatever.
Yeah, some sort of Nutella kind of thing.
But when a spider asks for eggs. As a spider asks for eggs, because I've heard, they're really, really good. And just Sandler's, just very deadbeat. They don't travel very well. I really thought was
that was very well delivered.
Yeah, and so it was. So we're really, and again, this is a very, very slow movie.
No, exactly, and I think that's where initially probably my mindset was off.
So it's a very slow movie. Anyone looking for even a raised voice in this film is probably not going to get it.
And I think talking this through, I'm kind of getting a different mindset to it. Because I think if you go into it thinking, hey, this is a Sandler movie, it's don't think of this as a Sandler movie. Think of this as as you're watching something on Netflix, like an interesting think piece.
Yes, exactly.
If you're someone who enjoys a movie where it's like you're into this watching for because I want to say, isn't his wife Casey Mulligan or Mulligan, or is that
that's NASA?
Because I know whoever that is, I know has been nominated for Academy Awards.
Yes.
That person I know has been in Spielberg stuff.
Yeah, I think that's Czechoslovakian NASA.
Okay, maybe. And I
could be wrong.
No, but also it's something I appreciated the fact that it wasn't just, hey, it's the Americans and we're Americaning it. Not that I have a problem. I am American. But I appreciated the fact that there can be a different take on how all this stuff, happens, And that they didn't dwell on any of that.
Yeah, Spider makes a good point as they're watching some of these flashbacks, that he feels that the wife may be just as lonely, as he is, even though she is on. And you do really see that kind of how, in her parentheses, how alone she feels as she...
Yeah, because it almost seems like, obviously, she has people around her, but it almost seems like she also is... It seems like she's understandably upset at the fact that he would take this where he's going to be away for minimum 1 year while she's pregnant.
Yes.
And I forget where this is during the movie, but they also make a point of saying that this is the second time she's been pregnant. And during he was, I believe, training for the mission or something at the beginning.
Yeah, or at least a mission.
Or a mission at the beginning. And he completely was gone when she lost the first child. And that didn't seem initially to faze him.
Yeah, and also a key element was when he rushed her off the phone saying there was an emergency. And it was just like... he needed, you could see, because you could see he just needed to take, it was just like the eggs were ready, his eggs were ready, and that's all that was, the quote-unquote emergency. So, yeah, you start to see that Adam Sandler, in addition to being the most loneliest person, is also... He's
kind of an asshole.
Is one of the most selfish people you can, and the spider starts getting a little frustrated.
Because I think the spider initially thinks that all humans are this depressed.
Yes,
but then I think as he's going, because one of the things Sandler, because around this point, that when they have the quote unquote flashback to when his wife lost the first child, and that was one of the first times Sandler starts speaking during it, because Sandler's like, "Why am I seeing this? I wasn't there." Yeah. And I think that's the spider trying to say, hey, you're kind of being an asshole about this. You need to face this. This isn't just all about you.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. And I think that's where I think the spider starts, its mindset starts turning, and because is this at the point where the spider vanishes for about 20 minutes or so, roughly?
When he basically, when you kind of see the lost baby, which is one of the flashbacks later on, that's when the spider's like, the spider briefly leaves because he's like, but prior to that, the spider's very much like, why would you make these promises? I can tell then that you're going to break it. Or it's like you find happiness from breaking these promises. Or why? Also, while this is going on, we're being told stuff about the cloud. So the cloud has particles. It's a chauffeur cloud, I believe, has particles from the beginning of the universe. And at one point we see some of those particles kind of in the ship, and it's kind of cool.
the particle, and this is also a really good, really cool special effect they do, because they have a couple of the particles come through. He tries to capture one, which he can't do.
Yeah, and so as one point after the miscarriage, the spider friend mentions that Sandler it feels like you're relishing in her sadness. We're also getting at this point some technical. They're not able to communicate with Earth.
Yes,
and also there's one point where the creature. I don't think it was a creature that was blocking. The one point where the creature, he finally got a hold of talking, and the spider kind of pressed a button to turn it off. We gotta face this. So it's kind of uncertain whether or not the spider was causing the communications, or if it was approaching the cloud.
Yeah, exactly. I was wondering if it was the spider doing it, if subconsciously he was doing it. Yeah. You know what I mean? And that. Yeah, and so, and I appreciated the fact that they kind of left that up to up to interpretation.
Yes, and there's quite a bit left to up interpretation, which again I like. As we both mentioned that we are gamers, so we have Xboxes, and Xbox Game Pass, free games and whatnot. One of the things I like to do on Game Pass, and I will tell you, is I like finding just independent, oddball 2 to 3 hour games. I found a dozen of them over the last few years, on Game Pass, where they're weird, they're offbeat, they're not of the norm. It's just different things, and it's kind of cool to. One of the reasons why I think I like this movie so much.
And completely unrelated. And if you know any of those that he should try, leave a comment in the YouTube or on our X feed or whatever.
Yeah. Most recent one I played was Road 96.
Nice.
Yeah, that's a pretty interesting one.
I may have this may have motivated me to start a new playthrough, and about to say it's going to make me feel really fucking old. Maybe restart No Man's Sky.
Oh, okay.
And as I restarted No Man's Sky, Charles, one of the things that popped up was that this game came out in 2016.
Oh, wow.
And so that made Ivan feel a little old, because this game is approaching 10 years old.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So now, once we get that big miscarriage kind of scene, he said relish in their sadness. Basically, he talks about how the Sandler's loneliness is self-inflicted, and that the creature's kind of disgusted with Sandler, and the creature's the spider. He decides that he's going to leave.
Yep.
And he leaves. Which I think is a very kind of key, crucial part of the movie.
This is where then I started wondering, hey, was he ever there?
Yeah.
Sandler's now alone again, and he sends Peter to go see his wife.
Yes.
At the because he's still. At this point, the days at this point kind of blend together.
Yeah,
but it's been a bit. He still hasn't gotten in contact with her.
Yeah, because when the movie started, it's been a bit since he actually talked to his wife, and then it's continued. Sandler's really at this point is desperate, and when he's all alone, and I believe that we have another flashback where he's kind of remembering, and he starts to. There's a moment where Sandler finally gets it. And
yes,
he understands, and that's when Adam Sandler, the crying scene, where Adam Sandler kind of silently cries, and I looked, and I'm like, in that crying scene with his side profile, Sandler just looks so old in that scene. And it's by design. I think it's by the... He just looks old. You know, and as he's just in his absolute lowest moment.
Yeah, and is it around this point? Is this at the point where he talks to his wife over the phone?
It's a little bit after.
That's a little bit after that.
Yeah, because it's right around that. But it is right around because he sends Peter. Because then Peter, and the creatures come back. I think at this point.
Yeah, because the thing I wrote, because there's a part where his wife either can't talk back to him or doesn't want to, but basically Sandler has this amazing monologue basically where after that crying he gets it.
Yeah.
He's now gotten the fact that he's kind of an asshole. And yeah,
exactly. And because one thing we mentioned, there a couple of the flashbacks, most of the flashbacks are centered on his wife. There's a couple of flashbacks that are centered on Dad. Okay.
Yes.
So they use some real life history here in that Czechoslovakian used to be communist, part of the Soviet Union, and then so his timeline wise, he was a kid and they were alive during the fall of the Soviet Union when the Czech Republic went away. Became the Czech Republic and went away. Dad was on the wrong side of history. He was a pro communist person, and we don't really get a whole lot. We kind of get the incident that Dad might have done some torturing of people. So like there's one thing last way look where he might have been torturing a guy.
See, and I wasn't 100% sure in that, and maybe I just was interpreting it wrong. I wasn't 100% sure interpreting it if the person getting tortured wasn't his father after the fall.
Could have been.
Because what I interpreted it that is that his father was on the wrong side of history, but what they were also kind of saying is that there are good people on the wrong side of history that don't realize sometimes that they're on the wrong side of history.
Yeah, and so you kind of also think that, like, because the Spider mentioned this point, that the whole point he's doing this mission is to try to atone. For his father.
That's a good point.
Is to try to atone for the sins of his father, so that maybe that'll make him feel that like he's a better father. But he's like, you got to focus on who's alive.
Yeah.
Focus on who's alive. And so so that's when Sandler she doesn't talk back. It's just Peter has the open phone and Sandler has that amazing monologue.
Yeah, and the part that I wrote down specifically that I liked was the line where he said, "If I could do it again, I'd do it better."
Yes.
I loved that line.
Yes, and actually, the creature doesn't come back until after that phone call.
He comes back after.
Yeah, because then I'm like, will she pick up the phone? No, it appears not. Of course, there is 30 minutes left in the movie.
Yeah.
And then a human hugging a spider is weird. Although I thought,
and I think they did that about as good as they could have. Kind of.
And again, a reminder that for most of this movie, Adam Sandler's. Whether that's a CGI or a practical effect, Sandler for the most pretty much is acting against nobody.
This is pretty much a solo.
This is a solo shot.
This is the whole Sandler until the very last scene in the movie doesn't have a scene with another person this entire time.
Yeah, exactly. And so I haven't seen a solo act like this since I think Moon with Sam Rockwell.
Yeah,
Back in the day,
that was good.
I remember that being
that was so good.
That was a great movie. Highly recommend that one. And now they're about to enter the chauffeur clouding because I'm talking about how the beginnings there. You're going to experience the beginning, what's inside there. You see right away that the creature's starting to have trouble. It's clear that the creature's
the creature's close to dying.
Yeah. And everything's his systems are going haywire. You hear Peter saying, you got to abort the mission. But the creature goes flying outside in the cloud, and Sandler's going after him. Yeah,
and let's just say bluntly, this scares Peter a bit when Adam Sandler's like, I'm going after him. I don't think Peter knows what Sandler means by him.
Yes. Yeah.
Because I don't think Earth knows about the spider, and I think bluntly, at the back of Sandler's mind, he's probably has some sort of percentage where he's not sure if the spider's real.
Yeah.
And he probably, because being an astronaut like this, he's probably a very pragmatic person, and he probably thinks it does Czechoslovakian NASA no good to know about the spider.
Yes.
Is probably the...
And by the way, the spider's actual name is Hanush. Like that.
Yes.
Hanush. And that's where I put, when he went out, I put, finally, a truly selfless act by Sandler. Because we had found throughout the course of this movie, really character study, that Sandler's a very selfish person. You know? And that's what I thought, finally, when he goes after the spider, it's truly a selfless act, because you really think that he's not going to be coming back. And because pretty soon, you know, he gets unclipped. He reaches the spider by use, I think, the decontamination thing.
Yeah, that was.
And then, you know, he forgives his father and himself. You get beautiful imagery, you know, in the cloud.
Yes. And this is a movie that even 10 years ago couldn't... If it would have been made, it would have looked just so bad.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
And so, like, you know, and so he's, you know, they spend the final, you know, moments together. They're getting deeper, you know, into the cloud, and you see some just cool imagery that you're left to kind of interpret, you know, what exactly it means, whether it's big and whatnot. Then, yes, eventually, you know, Hanush does pass away in a very cool, a little bit of gross way, but I thought it was, I kind of dug it. So he passes away, and Sandler kind of goes through the cloud, has a last flashback, and with this one's not a flashback because it's him talking to, like, because some of the flashbacks include where they met each other at like a Halloween costume party. He was dressed as a spaceman. She was dressed as like a kind of princess queen kind of thing. And he asks, and this is like right before he's gone through the cloud. He asks, "Can I kiss you?" Again, as what in the character's face, and she says, "It'll kill you if I do." And his response is, "I'm okay with that." And so, and this is and what it's obviously that's an open interpretation. My interpretation is that we're referring to like him being his career, being that like if you come back to me, it's going to mean the death of your career, and Sandler being okay with that is kind of how I interpret it.
Yeah, the same thing to me, and it's where she is like what do you call it? What it's like
it's like a forest stream,
forest
like that,
because that's also referenced a few times during this, because they reference it briefly earlier on when he's playing some music.
Yes,
I know too, and so I think this is a very important moment in his life, and I'm not 100% confident that how they did the flashback is how it happened. I'm almost wondering if that's how he wishes.
And I think that was just in his head.
Yeah.
I think that was because like him deciding, you know, that this is what this is going to be.
Yeah, this.
Because that one also, that was not through the lens of a spider.
Okay.
That was just straight. So I think that was kind of Sandler kind of in his head. But then, is he going to die? No, he gets saved by the South Koreans, who had been mentioned, name-checked a couple of times as being close behind him. And so he's saved by the South Koreans. And the South Koreans did not send a lone person out there, did they?
No, they had a whole ship of people.
Yeah.
They had at least, in their scene, they had at least 3 or 4 people.
Yeah. And so we're at the very, very tail end, literally last minute.
Yeah.
He calls his wife. She answers. They have, if you were saying like, if I could do it over again, I think that's where he says, I would do better. He repeats that line, and he's like, if you could do it over again, would you still kiss? If you knowing everything that came, would you still kiss me? And then she said, it was a great kiss. Smile, and that's kind of where they leave it. You're left to
you're left to an interpretation for how that's going to work.
Yeah, whether or not they're going to get back together. I interpret she had a smile on her face, and they probably were. At least
I interpreted that Czechoslovakian NASA is going to be really mad that he leaves his spaceship over there. Yeah, because I have a feeling that he's not going to be willing to sit there for 6 months by himself to get the ship back.
Yeah, probably.
He at most. was it South Koreans might take him to his ship. They might point his ship at Earth, send it that way, and then he goes back on their ship. Is my guess, because my guess is there's no way in hell he's going back alone.
I would agree. So now, again, this movie leaves a lot open for interpretation. When that the spider's real, the author has his own personal belief. Would you like to know what that is?
Yeah, well, what's his...
Again, this is the author's beliefs, and yes, the author wrote it, but I mean, it's open to
But the author writes it in such a way that
you can interpret it.
Yeah.
The author believes that the spider is real. There's a couple reasons and a couple clues that he put in. One, early in the movie, the spider sneezes.
Okay.
And like phlegm goes all over Adam Sandler's mask.
Yeah.
He said that. The other thing he pointed to is remember, we're known from the beginning of the movie that the bathroom on the ship's on the fritz, and it's causing noise vibrations. And we see early on that the spider loves vibrations and just digs it. And so there's a possibility that a lot of the other mechanical issues not being in contact is that the spider causing them because he likes vibrations.
Okay.
So that's those are the clues why he thinks. The author thinks that the creature was real. No,
I tend to lean that way too.
Yeah, I agree. I agree that it was real. For me, it was, and I really love the character. I love the fact that it was slow moving. Adam Sandler's performance was phenomenal. I understand this is very much a take a look. There's going to be a lot of people that it's just not for them. But for me, this was a diamond, and this was 5 stars for me. This is among my more favorite movies I've seen in a long time.
For me, I would say, to be honest, I'd probably say it's a diamond, and I'd probably say 1.
No.
So I think if you have Netflix, it's 100% worth watching. You're not going to be disappointed that you watch.
90 minutes.
It's not like it doesn't feel 5 hours long or anything like that. We say it's slow moving, but it's slow moving, but it's an interesting slow moving.
Interesting thing.
This isn't Matt Damon's. Was it Green?
The Martian. No, Green. Yeah.
Whatever the Green Zone, or whatever the fuck that movie was. That was like 90 minutes, but it felt 6 hours long. It's not that.
So don't forget to follow us on Facebook, X, YouTube, Blue Sky, because we're on all those places.
Cool. And next, we're going to stick with Netflix. And the next one we're going to watch is a movie called Circle. When you're searching for it on Netflix, if you want to watch it, the first thing that's going to come up is going to be a reality show. Yeah. That is not what it's called Circle. Yeah. You'll know it when you see it.
Yes. And so don't be a square. Listen to us as we talk about Circle.
Thanks. Have a great one, bud.
Have a good one.